You ever start watching a movie, go straight into the action, there's a guy going real fast in a very nice car, he's wearing this nice watch. It's a watch that maybe you'd have worn. For a split second, you think, wait, that could be me. That's the effect on watches in cinema. The Rolex Submariner and James Bond is really the first big iconic pairing that I can really say that really sparks off, the rich history of watches in cinema. James Bond is meant to be a classy, sophisticated, suave individual who can also, take down the biggest kingpins in the world at the same time.
Good God.
You see, by pulling out this button, sir, it turns the watch into a hyper-intensified magnetic field, powerful enough to even deflect the path of a bullet.
You get to see watches in different environments that you won't normally think about, or doing things that you won't normally see.
3 days before the Japanese took the island, your granddad asked a gunner on an Air Force transport named Wanaki, man he never met before in his life, to deliver to his infant son his gold watch. Now, little man, I give the watch to you.
So I think, people sometimes forget the real emotional connection that comes from a timepiece and, what it can really go into it. All wrapped up in one story that is now, connected to this watch forever. And now forever, when his son looks at that watch, he'll always remember the day that his dad told him this story. And I think moments like that happen all over the globe, every day. And that's what makes the watch industry so fun to me, especially because not only are you dealing with these feats of engineering, but at the end of the day, you're dealing with these cool pieces of time, these little pockets of time that transport so many memories in a little package. Whenever you think of big movie stars, Tom Cruise is one of the first people that always pops into my head. And he's a great example of somebody who, on the screen and off the screen, has some very, very interesting watch choices. One of the biggest brands that you see him wearing a lot lately is Bremont, which is really interesting because it's not a high-dollar brand, but it's a brand that has a rich heritage in aviation, real cool story, very hard, durable pieces, but still have a unique class and character to them all. So it's interesting to see a watch like that being worn daily, and you can see many pictures of him wearing them. And it says so much about it because it's a nice, classy watch meant to do everything, something that you can see him wear in the films as well. In Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, you see Tom Cruise wearing a Tudor Heritage Chrono, and I think this is a really good example of the people behind the scenes picking a perfect watch that really speaks to the character of the role. Tudor Heritage Chrono is something that's under the radar, high quality, meant to be something that is used every day, big tool watch that can do everything you need it to do. So take this watch for example. It's a Jaeger Reverso tribute to 1931 Mad for Reverso edition. So this watch is actually a limited edition piece that was made to commemorate the show Mad Men, which is really cool. It says Sterling Cooper, Draper Price, which is the fictional ad agency on the show. The watch choices on their show are excellent. And that's because it had a really great team of stylists and curators who made sure that the watches in the show were not only appropriate to that time era, but also appropriate to the people who wore it. Take something like the Reverso, clean, classy, understated, but something that was very versatile, something that had a hidden component, just like Mr. Draper himself, something that had another side that not everybody can see and not everybody was meant to see, and something so simple that you really don't think about. These little touches really made that show great to me. Another great recent example of watches living in an everyday life situation would be Anthony Anderson's character in Blackish. And as his daily wear, he's a little bit more business casual, I could say, and he wears two watches primarily, a Royal Oak 15400 OR 41mm on a black leather strap, and he also wears a Royal Oak chronograph, both in solid rose gold, but both used in very, very different ways. The chronograph he can make a little bit more casual. The time-only piece seems a little bit more on the elegant basis. But what I like about this is it shows you can have a nice rose gold watch that is of a great lineage, great history, great brand, but can be worn in many different situations and in a casual example. Everything's versatile and there's nothing wrong with mix and matching. It's all about bringing a little bit of you into whatever situation you're into. And sometimes in film you get a watch that's more than just an accessory that somebody's just wearing, but it's actually a true pivot point in the story. A good example is that scene in Doctor Strange when his watch is broken. It really ties the whole film together, and you really see the attachment that he had to that watch and what it means in so many ways in the context of that film. And Benedict Cumberbatch as an actor, as just a person walking the street, the watch that he's pushing the most of them is a new Polaris line, very natural. So it's a partnership, yes, but it is another way to show a watch in a setting that it would naturally be in. And then you even tag on to that Robert Downey Jr. With the Iron Man series, Robert Downey Jr. himself being a watch collector from way back, but partnered up with Jaeger to show again that Iron Man role, that Tony Stark role, where Amvox Tourbillons and things like that. It still matches very, very naturally. These aren't watches that you wouldn't think Tony Stark would not be wearing, because Tony Stark, who is, the super smart, intellectual, high-flying playboy, would have the watch, and not only on a technological level was amazing, but also had a little bit of flash on it as well. And I think natural placements like these that are partnerships, or even if they just organically popped up throughout movies, is just, again, great examples of seeing watches out there in the wild and showing how different watches can fit different personality types. So it's all about finding the right watch for the right character and then the right watch for you. I'm CQ, and this is my take on watches in cinema.